Hello everyone, this is Contemporary World Evidence 3. My name is Cesar Alberto Martinez Lubet and I'm from Tabasco, from Tecmilenio Campus Villahermosa. So we have the important events since 1990. First, we have the fall of Berlin Wall. This was at the very end of the Cold War, when before Germany was divided into two sectors, East and West. And finally, at this time, Berlin Wall was again reunited, and the communist and socialist forces left finally Berlin. We had the Persian Gulf War. This event was, as the name says, at West Asia, and it was one of the first events where the United States was involved with countries like Iran, Iraq, and this later will result in terrorism. We have the World Wide Web, the creation of the public access of the World Wide Web in 1992. This changed our life completely, as we use internet almost every day, or basically every hour. And life changed a lot since its creation, and it helped globalization. We have also the NAFTA establishment in 1994. The NAFTA will create link economic with United States, Canada, and Mexico. And if NAFTA recently was renewed, now it is called UMSCA, UMSCA, and we need to wait to see what the NAFTA or the UMSCA comes with. We have the World Trade Center attack, or the Twin Towers attack, whichever you want to call it, in 2001. This was one of the first major terrorist attacks in the modern era, with Osama bin Laden at front of the Al Qaeda terrorist organization. We have the economic crash of 2008. Sorry, that was a mistake. Economic crash of 2008. This was not as higher in impact as the economic crash in 1929, but this time, as we had a modern era with globalization, this crash affected almost every country as well as Mexico. The actions decreased, inflation increased, and people were severely affected by this crash. And finally, we have the Al Qaeda leader killed. It was Osama bin Laden in 2012. That was my mistake again. So in 2012, this Al Qaeda leader, who was responsible of the World Trade Center attack in 2001, was finally killed, and everyone was saying or talking trash about this person because of what he has done. And this event, or the influence he had, or the bad influence he had on Americans, will put the Islamic people in a really bad position or a point of view from others. Now, as the evidence says, we're going to explain some terms first, and then we're going to answer some questions about these terms or related about these terms. First, globalization. So globalization is the opening of borders between nations with the objective of having a fast flow of goods, people, and even ideas. So with globalization, we can buy things or consume things from other parts of the world. We have international commerce between countries. For example, you can buy something via AliExpress, Amazon, eBay. Those web pages let you buy things from other people from other parts of the world. But it's not only but with online commerce, but also with international commerce and actions between different companies. So we have, for example, here in Mexico, we see different restaurants that are not Mexican, like Burger King, McDonald's. This is part of what globalization means. Terrorism. The use of violence in order to provoke fear among citizens. Since 1990, organizations like Al Qaeda and ISIS have increased the fear with inhuman attacks. So this is one of the worst things that the world has seen since the Cold War. Why? Terrorism is is basically a difference in ideas and politics. Like I'm gonna explain later to you. But this difference, mainly in religion with Islam and Christianity, has made this organization, first Al Qaeda that no longer exists, and ISIS that is the current one, are trying to dominate or somehow dominate the world by putting their religion at first, making judgments with their standards or their belief, but most of them are incorrectly seen. In the part two, we have unipolar world. Sorry, a bit sick. The unipolar world is a world with only one major power in economy and military. This one is the United States. It has the most influence over the other countries. How do we know this? Because the United States has the largest economy with the largest army, and for example, it has influence or it dominates part of the international culture. For example, the international language is English, or most of the cinematic productions we have seen later uh, uh, are from United States, or the best products that we have, for example, the Apple company is from the United States. So that's why we say that United States is the major, the only major world power nowadays. And finally, the last term is digital era. Since the invention of the internet, the digital devices have changed our sense of the world, and it has marked a new behavior on every field. How do we know this? Because with internet, communication and transportation of culture and ideas are as quicker as we have ever imagined. We see a news, for example, from China, we receive it on our phones like 1 minute after it happened. We know every event in every part of the world thanks to the internet. And not only this, as everything now is digital, we can study by internet, we can buy things on the internet, uh, we can travel in the internet freely, search for information, work on the internet. So definitely internet has really changed our behavior in every field that we could imagine. Now we're gonna pass to the questions we had on Blackboard. So the first one is, why did the globalization emerge? This is a really interesting question because some people say that globalization was first than technological advances, but the reality is that according to the Peterson Institute for International Economics, the globalization is the result of technological advances like transportation and communication. Why? Because as these started to develop and reach far places quicker, lowering costs, for example, uh, on years before, you could send a telegram, but that telegram, for example, from the United States and the UK, it will cost you a huge amount of money. Nowadays, we can call someone or even make a video chat and the cost lowered. Globalization started being a thing by reaching out those countries and establishing relations in economy, politics, and it will occur an exchange of culture. Globalization has many positive sides. We can buy things from other parts of the world. We have uh, different job offers from foreign companies, for example, Kia, um, McDonald's, Schlumberger, for example. So this globalization of international trades are actually helping the community. However, these also have a negative impact, for example, in the environment, as we need more transport by airplane, cars, even boats or cargoes, sorry, uh, then it will pollute more the atmosphere. So it is not all positive, but from my point of view, it is really helpful. We can actually make some regulations on this so it doesn't affect that much the environment. But yeah, it is mainly good from my point of view. The second one. In most cases, what caused the terrorist attacks of the 20th century? Well, difference in politics and religions. Why do I say this? First, in politics, because since the Persian Gulf War, like we saw before, uh, countries in the west side of Asia, like Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, these ones that started the first war, it was mainly the politics ambitions of territory expansion. Then United States entered this war to stop all this, including the uh, United Nations. So these terrorist attacks were mainly by politics. Since the 21st century, we have attacks to the Twin Towers and attacks to Paris, Belgium, and other places in Europe. But this is mainly due to religion. Why? Because as United States started supporting Israel instead of the Islamic people or followers, then these countries started to oppose or to champion the idea that the main religion in the world should be Islam. But this is not the Islam that innocent people normally portray or display in their behavior. This Islam is a radical Islam where they judge or they put their ideas before the others. They don't have any respect for other ideas. So they have radical point of view of the things based on their belief, but the judgment is like misplaced. Now, how does the end of the Cold War relate with the unipolar world? This is a really easy question. Maybe you know it. We have that the Cold War was an event right after World War II. It was from 1945 to 1991. Two major superpowers that were left in the after the World War II. These ones were United States and the USSR or the Soviet nation. Uh, as they were the only two major superpowers, they started fighting in an indirect physical war. That's why it is called the Cold War for supremacy. However, by 1980s, approximately 1980s, the leaders of the USSR started declining the economy and the politics in in this nation. So after many bad decisions of the leaders of the USSR, it finally surrendered somehow, changing from the USSR to the Russian Republic that we have nowadays. This left the United States as the only major world power and thus started the unipolar world period, where the United States basically influenced in everything in the world. It has the most weighted decision, for instance. Now, finally, how has the digital era influenced today's society? We can see that the World Wide Web, since it was allowed to use by the public, the internet has rapidly changed our way of living. It has made globalization grow faster, as we explained it before. It has created a new perception of view things. For example, education can be online. Here in Mexico, the SEP or SEP in Spanish has many programs to learn online. However, they're not as effective as it was physical, of course, from my point of view. But also, information spreads in a split second. As I said, many people via with social media, they spread news so fast that you can exaggerating, you can know about something at the same time it is happening. For example, like live streaming. Job offers have increased with freelancing and goods can be sold online. First, with jobs, we have different pages like freelancer, uh, and many companies that are hiring workers online. For example, teachers, web developers, translators, designers. So you can work online by your own without being attached to any schedule and from and I think it's way better than working with a schedule, and you can earn the same amount of money as it will be with a physical job. And finally, you can sell goods online, sell or buy goods online. Uh, why do I say this? Because we have so many pages in so many countries. We have the main ones here are Mercado Libre and Amazon. You can sell anything. You can get whatever you want to the door of your house, even if it's something big like a television or it's something small like an SD card, for example. So you can compare prices, and if you see that it is better for you to buy something in China than in United States, sorry, then you just buy it and that's it. You you have the safety that this object or this good is going to be in your hands in really little time. Unless you buy it from China, then it takes like as long as 2 months. In my experience, of course. Well, this is all. Thank you for your attention. This is the bibliography that I used. I will leave you some links in the description so you can learn better what globalization is. It's from a really uh, good source, so you better watch it to learn more about this. So my name is Cesar Alberto. This was Contemporary World Evidence Free. Thank you for your attention.